So much Sriracha in just one day. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. We're just going to quickly go over t-tests because I know that they're your favorite and you love them. And we are going to do that using the data that I gave you in the question on the review packet I gave you today. So there's one about old people and young people and who has a greater rate of life satisfaction. So we're going to look at that. So here was our data that we were presented with, and it's asking us, what is our null hypothesis? So if the hypothesis is that you're looking for the difference between older and younger adults on perceived life satisfaction, the null hypothesis would say that age has no effect on perceived life satisfaction. That's the null hypothesis. The p-value, we always really choose the same level unless the IB tells us to do something else. We select a p-value of 5%. That means that if I'm going to tell you your study is statistically significant, I'm only going to do that if there's only a 5% chance that this could have happened by accident, right? That your results could have occurred by mistake. So that means that I'm 95% confident that my results were not by mistake. My results show that there is a difference and show that age is what's causing that difference in my results. Okay, now it goes on to what is your critical value. So your p-value and your critical value are both going to be found in this beautiful chart, right? Here's your 0.5, that's your p-value, right? And your critical value is going to be somewhere in there. What you have to do first, before you can talk about your critical value or find your critical value, is that you've got to go and you've got to find your degrees of freedom. Now, in this particular situation, right, we've got old, we've got young. I calculated the mean and the standard deviation, although all of those answers are in the document if you just scroll down. We were given a t-value of 1.315. So that's our test value. We have to check it against the critical value in the chart to see if we're above or below. If we're above, awesome, significant difference. We can reject the null hypothesis and move on with our hypothesis because our hypothesis is awesome. If this t-value is less than the critical value given in the chart, then I have to accept the null hypothesis, and that's sad times. So how do I find this critical value? I take all of my data points, right? And here I have two sets of data. So I've got 10 data points in each set. Add those together. I have 20 data points. And because I have two sets, I subtract the number 2, right? 20 minus 2, we have 18. Alas. Now I go back to my handy dandy chart and I look up 0.5 and 18. And when I travel across, I see this number, 2.101. Okay, so let's go back and check. So that number, I got to remember, 2.101 is the magic number. If I'm above that, I'm good. If I'm below it, sad times, null hypothesis. 2.101. Oh, I am not. I don't have that. I don't have that as my t-value. In fact, I am well below that threshold. So I sadly have to accept the null hypothesis, accept that at least my data does not show that age has any significant effect on perceived life satisfaction. And that is basically what would be your answer to the last question in terms of whether or not my test is significant. No, my test is not significant. I essentially failed the t-test, if you will, because my score came in far below their critical value, their threshold for what they would consider to be significant, right? And by they, I mean scientists, it's fine, right? So obviously, when you do this on the test, you are going to be given the t-value, right? You're going to be given a chart with all of those critical values on it. The only thing that you yourself are going to have to calculate is going to be the mean, right? So I'm going to ask you for the mean or degrees of freedom, but you'll be asked to calculate the mean and the standard deviation in other points on the test. So you may just have to calculate degrees of freedom and then look it up on the chart and then know what you're talking about when you explain to me why your data is either significant or insignificant. Okay, so I hope that cleared up T-charts. There is another video, which I think is posted above, that talks about tails and pairs. So you will be all set on T-charts. Make sure that you are looking at lesson 5 in the large packet so that you know what you're doing tomorrow, which is going to be a great day.